Thank you for joining me for another session on the value of veterans. In this series, my intention is to share with you my perspectives on the skills and strengths that service members and veterans bring with them from their experiences in the military. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the topic of expectations. There's a saying that I've heard, sometimes attributed to Benjamin Franklin and other times Confucian philosophers, but it goes something like this: Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I will learn. I would like to add a fourth line to that: expect me and I become. When I was a cadet in ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps in university, I distinctly remember, like it was yesterday, Master Sergeant Hill and Master Sergeant Nord constantly reminding us cadets that when we get to our units, people will expect us to lead and how to lead properly. This is important to note because when I went to my first unit, I expected to be put in a leadership position, and my first assignment was as a platoon leader. For us, this was not abnormal. It was what we expected to happen and what we expected of ourselves, to be placed in a leadership role and to fulfill that role honorably. This, however, upon reflection, I realized this is not necessarily normal for non military people. That when they go to their first job outside after college or after high school and training of some sort, they don't expect to be put in a position, nor do the people that are already in the business expect a new graduate to be in charge. However, in the military, this is not the way it is. You graduate as an officer and you are put in the position of leadership. However, you're not alone. The institution of the military supports the new leaders in this role. And for example, my platoon sergeant, I think, knew that part of his role was to ensure that I was successful as a leader. So even though I theoretically outranked him, or actually did outrank him in the rank structure, he knew that part of his role was to ensure my success and also, in that, ensure my development. And you could see this throughout the military. All my managers, my senior officers, my leaders, really were developing me at the same time that they were having me fulfill my role, that I was fulfilling my role. Even times where I would essentially get chewed out for something, usually my fault, but it was always a learning experience. And the orientation of my executive officer, for example, was always, I could sense, always one of, I'm going to help you become a better leader. So I call that being in the water. In the service, leadership is in the water. And in the enlisted ranks, it's the same way, that the once you graduate out of basic training, the trajectory is upward, where you go up the ranks from private to specialist or PFC, private first class, to specialist or corporal, to buck sergeant, sergeant, which E5, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, master sergeant, first sergeant, and sergeant major. And that's in the Army. In the other branches, there's sometimes slightly different names given for the ranks. But essentially, the structure of the military is one where you're always going upwards, and you're expected to always be a leader. And when I talked about the mission and talked about the chain of command, I talked about that as well, that everybody's expected to be and are prepared to lead the mission. And so there's this sense that you will be a leader, and there is a support in this in the behaviors of others that outrank you, that you will be also a leader. And also, I think there was also a very strong sense of support from my soldiers themselves in ensuring that I could be successful as a leader, because I felt that they wanted me to be successful just as much as I wanted them to be successful. So I just want to share with you the expectation of leadership in the military, that in all areas of the service, there is a tone that your superiors and those that follow you expect you to lead. And just as well, you as the individual expect to lead. And I think this is something that, again, service members often don't think about because it's just what's in the water. And that tone exists amongst their colleagues. And also, I think it's something that we all can use as leaders in organizations to use expectations in a very resonant way. People want to be held to high expectations. In some ways, it actually makes excelling easier when they're given, in a sense, permission to lead. And so I'd like to leave you with this. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I will learn. Expect me and I become.